Hello everyone, and welcome to the final section of the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Automotive Photography. First and foremost, I want to give a huge thank you to any of you that have made it this far in my course. This course took so much time to put together, and years of research and trial and error has gone into the information that I presented to you in this guide. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to everything that I had to say, and I genuinely hope that the information that I gave you is going to help you guys start prosperous careers as car photographers. I also want to give a huge shout out to the team at Up All Night Inc. They let me film this entire guide inside their shop, and they've also been a huge help on the editing side of things. So thank you again to the team at Up All Night Inc. Aniceto and Gio, you guys are the best. So with that being said, I do have some final words / tips and tricks that I would like to share with you before we conclude this entire guide. Of course, I will also have the tutorial and instructions for how to use the included preset pack following my final words here. So starting off with my first round of tips and tricks would be to shoot cars at least 3 times a week. Listen, I understand life is crazy. It's hard to make time for any one thing 3 times in a given week, but if you're really dedicated to becoming a better photographer, you really need to make time for it. Like I've said in previous sections, the faster you can take photos that contain mistakes that you're able to identify and know how not to do in the future, the faster you're gonna end up being a good car photographer, or any photographer for that matter. So even if you have a boring, completely stock car that's not sporty at all, just take pictures of it as often as you can. Try to get outside your comfort zone, try new locations, try new compositions until you really narrow down on a style that fits you. The next tip that I would like to offer you is joining 2 Facebook forums. One is simply just titled Car Photography, and the other is titled Automotive Photography Education. Now, it has to be said that I only recommend these forums to those of you that are really serious about getting better. I say that because if you post your photo sets in these forums, you're probably gonna get roasted, like really bad. But ultimately, if you have no other photographer friends to send your work that can critique it, your next best option is joining these forums and posting your work there. You may receive a lot of criticism, and some of it may even hurt your feelings, but ultimately, these people are just speeding up the process of you becoming a better car photographer. They'll tell you why your composition's bad, they'll tell you how your editing's bad, they will tell you absolutely everything that is wrong with your photo. And honestly, it's better to be a photographer that knows everything that they did wrong as opposed to somebody that did things wrong and thinks that they did everything properly. That's how I operated for the first couple years of my career, and it really stunted my growth as a photographer. My next tip is something that I already mentioned in a previous section, but that would be to take inspiration from other car photographers. Don't just look at other car photographers' work and be like, wow, this is so much better than mine. I could never do anything like this. Instead, look at other people's work that you really admire and ask yourself, how did they accomplish this? Really take time in looking at these photos and seeing what colors are in their shadows, what colors are in their highlights, what composition are they preferring to use? Can you identify the focal length that they're using? The great thing about social media is that it gives us regular people accessibility to contact these bigger photographers. So it's even worth commenting or even messaging these photographers that produce work that you like and asking them questions. There are a lot of people out there that will tell you to avoid comparing yourself to other photographers, and in terms of doing it in a negative light, I absolutely do agree with that. But at some point, if you genuinely believe that somebody else's photos are better than yours, instead of getting butthurt about it, really study those photos, figure out what they did to make their photo better than yours, and then do everything you can to improve on your own end. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that you can control is the quality of your own work. My next tip would be connect with your local car photographers. You may not think you have any other photographers in your area, but you'd probably be surprised to know that there's quite a few. If you go to local car meets, chances are you're gonna see several people there with a camera taking pictures of cars. Introduce yourself, find out if they have an Instagram, make friends with these people. At the end of the day, if they're also sharing the passion of car photography with you, you have a lot in common and a lot to talk about. More importantly though, if you're able to connect with more car photographers both locally and on a global scale, you'll have more people to be able to critique your work. If you're only ever sending your photos to your mom and your sister and your friends who aren't photographers, they're always going to tell you that your photos look good, but you're really going to get genuine advice if you're able to connect with other people in your field. And that is pretty much going to wrap up my final tips and tricks for all of you. Once again, I am so grateful to each and every one of you who not only purchased this guide, but went through from start to finish and really absorbed the information. If you'd like to get in contact with me, I'll throw up my Instagram information up here on screen, as well as a few of my other contact channels so that you can get in touch with me. Ask me questions, send me your car photos. I would love to get in touch with you guys and just talk car photos. So once again, thank you so much for completing the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Automotive Photography. Now go out there and show the automotive photography world what you're made of.